this effort to impeach, this is a growing effort that you've had underway for some time, and it is getting some momentum and some visibility.
Yeah, I mean, do we all agree that this criminal regime needs to go? I think we're all on the same page with this. And the one way that the Constitution mandates that is Article 2, Section 4. I think you and I got to know each other when I was advocating for Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, because that could have and should have blocked this presidency from ever taking place in the first place. It's the subject of what we're listening to today from Jack Smith. That attempt to overthrow the election, inciting an insurrection, disqualified Trump from the presidency.
Sure, and many who, including myself, I always said, I don't know how you don't need to get past that to any other evaluation of Trump to realize that he's not qualified to be president or not eligible.
Unfortunately, Section 3 doesn't have a removal mechanism. I mean, the man is disqualified every single day. I think federal marshals should be going in there, taking him out of the White House, but they're not. So what does the Constitution give us? It gives us impeachment for high crimes, misdemeanors, treason, and bribery. This man has committed treason. He is committing treason on a daily basis. The utilization of ICE as a paramilitary force, pitting them against American citizens, waging war on this country from within, as him and Pete Hegseth have openly said they are doing, is an act of treason. It is unthinkable that we are not talking about impeachment more often and normalizing this conversation. But like you said, it is gaining momentum. It is gaining steam. Every event that we have had, I think when you were a guest on my show, Lights On, was the very first time that I announced the formation of the Removal Coalition back over the summer. And it has just grown exponentially since then. We've had all of these grassroots organizations joining us. We started a movement called Remove the Regime, which are protests that are explicitly messaging impeachment, conviction, and removal, and always coupled with direct lobbying of Congress to this end. And we had a major event I was on with Mo on your show back in November in DC when I was here for that. Because of the pressure of our movement, we moved the support for impeachment from 70 some Democrats, 78, 79 Democrats supporting Al Green's forced vote over the summer to 187, if you're counting the present votes when he did it the second time in December. That is a 77% surge. Massive, massive increase in support for impeachment because of the pressure of this movement. So what we actually did just a few days ago on the 20th, the 1-year anniversary of this illegal, abominable administration, was partner with Women's March, also with Free Speech for People, Citizens Impeachment 5051 National, in a walkout, walk-in. We piggybacked on Women's March call for a walkout, and we said, you know what? Take that day of walkout and then walk into your local congressional offices demanding impeachment and removal. So we had people across this country. Less than 2 weeks we took to set this up. It was very last minute.
I saw a lot on social media, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all over the place. And, a mixed bag of responses, I will tell you, from congressional offices. We had some people, a lot of these congressional offices closed down because they knew people were coming. Absolutely shameful. They work for us. Wow. Absolutely shameful that they're doing this. A few called the police on constituents who were just there peacefully to talk to them. So, completely egregious behavior by some congressional offices, but we are getting
just to follow up on that, though, quickly. Sorry to interrupt, but just to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Are those who are pushing back in some of those aggressive ways, calling the cops and pressing for a removal of those who have come into those offices and are trying to get a word with legislators? Yeah. Are those generally? Do they line up as straight GOP jihadists? Or who do you target? Do you target the sort of the shoulder, which is sort of the more moderate GOP, or you perceive where there might be movement from some? Who and how do you, when I say target, you know what I mean, focus on which legislators?
Well, my focus has been we have to start with Democrats, right? Because
Right,
we don't
right.
even have the Democratic caucus. And I could get into so much of the inside baseball of what's going on behind the scenes of the Democratic Party with impeachment. If you're interested, you want to take a little
Well, I
dive?
mean, I think that it's important because I think we always focus on the GOP as though
Yes.
they're
Oh, no.
responsible, but I
And
think we're
that's,
in this spot because of Democrats as
oh,
well,
we are
and maybe in a big way.
100%, 100%. So let's just give you a little bit of a background here. So let's take one person who's sitting on that committee dais right now with Jack Smith, and he says very clear things. He's on cable news every single night. Beloved leader in the Democratic Party, Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin. Guess who was the biggest opponent to having Section 3 enforcement on January 6th of last year? Jamie Raskin. Guess who has been the biggest gatekeeper to having impeachment articles furthered in the House of Representatives during this term? Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin is the gatekeeper. And you have people like Representative Al Green, who is a very independent and fearless member of Congress who is going to do things whether he gets permission from Jamie Raskin or not.
Right.
But much of the caucus has taken the lead of Jamie Raskin. And this is their line, Mark. This is so counterintuitive, but their line has been that pushing impeachment before the midterms is going to somehow make their more moderate members vulnerable. When it could not be further from the truth. This country is hungering and thirsting for fighters. The Democratic Party is having a very, very hard time raising money right now because of the perception that they just do not have the spine and the will to fight back against this breakneck pace of criminality that we have.
Jessica, what is the reason that's articulated anyway by Raskin as to why he feels it's a bad idea? Simply because he thinks politically it's going to imperil too many of those Democrats who will be associated with some kind of sort of radical governmental move to remove a president?
Mostly it's that it would imperil the vulnerable moderate members in midterms. Now, let me just play this all out for you.
Yeah, I'm
Just
sorry. Go ahead. I
indulge
won't.
me for a
Yeah, I
moment.
won't.
Indulge me for a moment. So
Okay.
back over the summer, Jamie Raskin votes to table Al Green's article of impeachment. Okay, unthinkable. That was for the illegal strike on Iran, by the way. Jamie Raskin votes to table it. A lot of those members that vote to table it got a lot of heat, and not in small part because of my movement and my show Lights On, because we expose them, we give names, we make sure that the pressure is applied. And that's why it's so important for these votes to be forced, for these names to be put on the record. And you've seen other impeachment efforts more recently where votes are not forced, and I would consider those performative. Unless you're forcing votes, this is not a serious action. So Jamie Raskin votes to table over the summer. He sees a lot of pressure from us. There is an impeachment petition at impeachtrumpagain.org that's from our partner, Free Speech for People. It's gotten over 1 million signatures. We showed up over the summer delivering those impeachment signatures to Jamie Raskin's chief of staff. Okay, had social media that had millions and millions of views surrounding that visit. They are obviously getting the heat from their constituents and from the American people. So fast forward to December, when Representative Al Green forces that second vote, which this time is about Donald Trump's threats to execute Democratic members of Congress, Jamie Raskin votes in favor of it, votes against tabling it. Because how can he possibly continue to take this position publicly that he's against impeachment? He's seeing the public pressure. But yet he still goes on Chris Hayes that night, I believe it is, and calls what Al Green did performative. I will tell you, my friends, there is absolutely nothing performative. If there is any member of Congress that is taking action right now that is not performative, it is Al Green. This is the way we get out this lawless, murderous regime, is impeachment. And you have to move the needle by forcing the votes and putting people on the record. So Jamie Raskin votes in favor of it, but still very tepid, still not fully behind it. And now you've seen over this past couple of weeks, these impeachment filed of Kristi Noem. Okay, who files the impeachment of Kristi Noem? Robin Kelly, running for Senate in Illinois. Okay, and a lot of these are tied to campaign runs, and there's sometimes, I think some of the past ones have been 15 minutes of fame sort of things. I do think they've been very performative, and a lot of times you see people that are running will do this. So Robin Kelly files. She gets like 80 co-sponsors. Okay, vast support impeaching Nome. And then you have Representative Delia Ramirez of Illinois, okay, coming out. Like I said, inside baseball, if you're paying close attention here, you will see that Delia Ramirez is really upset that Robin Kelly is getting credit for the Nome impeachment. Okay, because Delia Ramirez has been talking about impeaching Nome for months. But guess what Delia Ramirez did that really bit her in the you-know-what? She waited for permission from Jamie Raskin. She was waiting for the green light from Jamie Raskin to say, I bless these impeachment efforts as head of the Judiciary Committee, and you can go ahead and do this. And now she's like in a competition, which is actually not a bad thing. These people should be in competition to take stronger action on impeachment with Robin Kelly and all those co-sponsors. And she wants credit for having led this fight to impeach Nome.
Well, it also gets out in the public discourse more. I mean, I like any conversation about the lawlessness with which all of this is going on in this administration, be it ICE or be it Venezuela or whatever.
Yes. But what this all tells you, I mean, if you zoom out, it tells you, look at these people. They're now competing for credit on impeachment efforts. That tells you how broadly popular, how much public support there is for it. And I want your viewers to know, and I want everybody to know across this country, that anything that they are telling you, including Delia Ramirez is trying to do this, which is not true, anything that anybody is telling you about the procedure that has to take place with impeachment, with hearings or investigations or drawn out processes, is not true. None of this is mandated by the Constitution. Impeachment is a political process. In ways, it follows the procedure of a courtroom and a trial, but those are not mandated. The Constitution doesn't mandate any of that. We have someone who, like I said, is breaking the law at a breakneck pace, murdering American citizens. We do not have to draw out an investigation. We can force votes immediately. We can act like this. If Delia Ramirez wants to get some points and wants to get some real credit, I have an idea for you, Delia Ramirez. Invoke Rule 9 on the floor of the House on those articles of impeachment filed by your colleague, Robin Kelly. That will get you some attention. That will move the needle. That will tell the American people that you are serious about impeaching and removing Kristi Noem.
So one of the things that is important, I would think, in terms of the impeachment push is that you focus on the right issue, because as you've said, he's serving up impeachment worthy violations of his oath, of every bit of what had been American decency. He serves it up every hour.
Every day. Yep.
So the idea that you go after Kristi Noem is a real good one, because even those who are tacitly okay with Trump, and I think the polling it's still sadly so strongly. There's a new poll out. Republicans are still by like about 85%. As far as ICE is concerned, even they're okay with it. But it's clearly the thing that is, I would say, it causes most Americans to recoil as you see these scenes on the streets perpetrated by ICE, as you see mothers, kids. We're going to run a video a little bit later. This poor child is ambushed in his own garage with his father and taken away, and now he's at a detention center in Texas about 1,000 miles from his home, and his older brother comes home from school, and there's no dad and there's no little brother. It's heartbreaking, the whole thing. The little kid is taken with wearing his little hat. So I guess what I'm trying to say, it's against that backdrop, I think, that you really do have some political momentum and some popular momentum to go after this issue. And so I really love that you've put Kristi Noem on the griddle in this way, because I think it's not a winner for them. It's not going to be a net winner for them.
No, it's not. It's not. But these efforts have to be serious. I want to address one of your viewers. They said Jessica is the problem. She's the reason Dems lose time and time again. Jessica and young progressives, stop eating your old Dems. Need to unite. Do something. They just their disarray is why they lose. Okay, first of all, I don't believe Trump won the 2024 election. So I actually think that in spite of some very, very clear differences I had with Harris, particularly on Gaza, that she actually won that election. And Mark and I have had this conversation. Both of us have been some of the few to have this conversation seriously without being afraid of being gaslit into being called election denier.
Well, the swing state votes are
Yeah.
super suspect. So please
Yeah,
go
but
ahead.
the other thing is, listen, just think about where we are right now. Okay, where we are and what you that horror you're talking about. I'm thinking about the story of the sophomore in high school who was beaten by ICE agents. They're talking right now about phone records of these poor senators and representatives being taken. And this young man was beaten by ICE agents, American citizen, 10th grader in high school, had his phone then, after he was beaten, dropped at a pawn shop for sale. Okay, talk about a violation of rights. This is unthinkable. But just to go back to your viewer's comment, I want you to think about why we are in this position right now. Think about what happened in the Biden administration when so many people were waiting and not taking action on prosecuting Trump sooner. Okay, Jack Smith came along and he was great, but he was damn late. Okay, the Biden administration and Merrick Garland needed to initiate that long ago. We have to hold especially our allies in this fight, if they are our allies, to a higher standard, because just getting along to get along and having unity for the sake of a false sense of peace and unity is killing us. It is literally killing us. If those people that say they are pro-democracy and on our side and for the salvation of this republic that so many people have sacrificed and died for are really on our side, then we need to hold them to the highest standard right now. They need to be extremely aggressive, more aggressive than Trump is with their illegality. They have to be with their constitutionality and their relentless fight to get this man out of office. That's not divisive. That is the one thing that will save this country and literally save our lives, because this administration is murdering and torturing people to death.
I also feel that you have to build coalitions. This is how it works in Congress. You've worked in Washington and you've worked around Washington for so long, and you understand that this is how it works. You build your coalition first among those in your party often, and then you can put the bite on those across the aisle. Sometimes it can work in a truly bipartisan way from the start, but something as divisive as this, you have to put the coalition together on your side. And as you say, the resistance apparently on the Democratic side is something that you have to handle first. Otherwise, you run up against the fact like, look, people in your own party don't want to do this, you know, so you need to, I think it makes perfect sense, I guess I should say, to, you know, take care of your own family first, and then pile everybody in the car and try to get the parade going with others.
Yeah. And you think about it that way. Think about it like a family, because with our families, we don't let them off the hook when they're falling short. We don't tell them, you know, I hear all the time, oh, impeachment, they tried it twice, it's going to fail. I mean, how many people have taught their kids, if you try twice, give up. Don't try ever again. Twice is your limit. Then you're surely going to fail. I mean, for goodness sakes, you push them harder. You tell them to keep trying until they reach that goal that they need to. This pressure that we are exerting, that I'm exerting on the Democrats, is an act of love. You know, that's what it is. And think about it in that family context, because it really is. We're not willing to hold our loved ones to this lower standard that is disappointing them and disappointing the rest of us.
And so I think it also, because we had this conversation actually before you got here, I made the same point about, but I've made it a jillion times on the show about Merrick Garland slow walking everything, and the Biden administration, even the appointment of Merrick Garland, I thought was just a tepid move. So you can start as far back in the origin story as you want, but you get to the same place, which is that everything just was deliberately taking too long. I mean, and deliberately is a very important part of this entire narrative. But I also think it's very important that the impeachment proceedings move on, even if you can't get removal. Removal is a high bar. I think it is too high a bar. But that doesn't mean that those things exposed as evidence in an impeachment proceeding aren't very much going to seize the narrative. And that's all very important. It gets out into the public discourse in a way that it wouldn't otherwise.
Absolutely. It's all narrative. It's all pressure. I mean, that's what is so frustrating when you hear anybody say we don't have the votes. I'm like, what are you in? Are you a politician? Because last I checked, your role as a politician was to get the votes, was to move popular opinion and public thought and be an actual leader. I mean, these people that are supposed to be leaders, so few of them are actually leaders. That's the whole point, is to move the narrative. That's why, in spite of the fact that I don't think Trump won this election, he is obviously successful at hijacking, oh my God, hijacking a friggin' narrative
Exactly.
and just getting the world to go along with whatever
He's
the
a
hell
marketing
he
guy.
wants. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So Democrats have to get so much better at this. And yeah, impeachment is an excellent way. An excellent way. Can you? And this is why I say this all the time. You're talking about me starting with the Democrats. If the Democrats were all aligned on impeachment, the media would have to be talking about those efforts. The media would have to be talking about what the entire Democratic Party was moving to impeach and remove Trump for, and all of that evidence that you're talking about. You know,
Beware reminds us, because apparently somebody was giving you static. Jessica is one of the more courageous ex MAGA I've listened to. You can tell she has anxiety, but she persists. Boy, I don't notice any anxiety, but all right. A bravery is not to be scared. It is to be scared. It's to be scared and do the right thing anyway. In other words, well, Beware says, look, it's a frightening process, but you apparently handle it aggressively. And Scott asks a good question, which is, yes, Dems got to make noise. Jessica, how do you get the 18 to 30-year-olds to vote Dem? I feel like you have a line into that demo, but maybe that's just from where I sit. I feel like you have some appeal there.
well, thanks. I mean, what do I say?
I mean, are the 18 to 30-year-old? Maybe I'll put it this way: are the 18 to 30-year-olds are you getting some traction in that demographic, or do you find them checking out, or where is that demographic, the younger demographic?
I don't know. I think it's a mixed bag. I think we always feel like we want more younger people, right? I mean, I was lobbying Congress with a 22-year-old the other day. So there's some amazing Gen Z people in this movement that are showing up with us consistently. And in this fight, we have some incredible Gen Z candidates like Kat Abou-Ghazaleh in Chicago. She's just one name. There's many, many more. So I think there's a lot of energy there. I think that demographic is really perceptive to bullshit. And that kind of just goes right back to my whole point here, is that you can't sorry, people see a fighter and they see lip service and they know the difference. And whether we're talking about 18 to 30-year-olds or really anybody, but I do think that particular demographic is not stupid. They're going to see if you're really matching your words with actions.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. This is a weird thing to say on the heels of everything else we've said, but one of the things that Trump had is I kept hearing it. Well, he's authentic. He's real. He says what he thinks. He says what he said. Yeah, he says what he thinks, but he's not going to do any of the things that he says he's going to do in the way of the popular message that he's passed along to you. He's not going to drop prescription drug prices by 1,600%. I mean, listen to what he says. Maybe it's authentic or it sounds to you like it's real, but the reality truly is that he is just spinning sunshine. It is an absolute wall-to-wall con. And now to see this despotism rise in the ways that we have never seen in our lifetime on the American streets, where they're pulling people out of cars, they're pulling people off of their jobs, they are knocking on doors and pulling people out of their homes. This has been justified now without a warrant. This is a personal military that this administration has, and they have as their cornerstone a kind of grotesque brutality that we have never seen in America.
Yeah, it's unthinkable. And that's why, I see some of the comments like, why are we going to do this if it doesn't succeed, if we have 0 votes in the Senate? We have to start somewhere. This is unthinkable what we're living through right now. They are promoting, like you said, the brutality. Donald Trump is promoting the ICE agents that engage in the most violent behavior against people. This is Nazi Germany a la 2026 in the United States. I mean, if there is any parallel that we could draw, it's happening here. And I've seen there's a lot of commentary out there about how in that time, and I know we're obviously in a very different period in history, but things felt relatively normal in our lives. Every day we went about our normal course of business. We went on dates, we got married, we went to the movies. We had generally normal feelings about our lives. And yet they were driving into unthinkable atrocities.
Yeah, you're right. It's sort of the banality of evil. It's the
I don't think I mean, I guess my point is we have to use what we've got. Impeachment is what we've got. And so that's why, if you don't want the violent alternative, and I say this very bluntly, those representatives, it's not their job to uphold the Constitution only when they have the votes. Those representatives that are not using the constitutional remedy to get the Hitler of America in 2026 out of the White House will have blood on their hands when we are forced to the alternative that Donald Trump will force us to, because we know this man is not leaving office peacefully. So are we going to use all of our energy to try to prevent that from happening using our Constitution? Or are we going to throw our hands up and say it's not politically expedient or easy to do right now?
I like the impeachment move, lastly, because I think I see it as a way, as I say, to seize the narrative. And also, I feel it will have greater traction than the 25th Amendment talk that I always hear about. I'm sorry, it's really, it's designed to remove from office a president who has been debilitated, maybe by stroke, by heart attack in some way. You're not going to get, however you see the 25th Amendment, you're never going to get his cabinet, the majority of his cabinet, to get together for removal. You can't even get these guys to, this is truly Orwellian, the way that they have supplicated themselves to this man. It's incredible. I mean, Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, these guys who were, full-throatedly putting Trump down in the most, really like huge smears. And now they lavish Trump with praise, and I can't believe the way they've sold their souls. So the idea somehow that you'd get them together to, remove him from office in a 25th Amendment move never would happen. Just wouldn't happen.
I mean, that's a misconception I correct all the time. And you're exactly right. If you think impeachment's hard, 25th Amendment's impossible with this environment of the cabinet that he has. It's not going to happen. These people.
Jessica, where can people go to join your movement? Of course, Lights On is the podcast, is already insanely popular, but there it is, removalcoalition.org. Does that get it done?
That's all of the people in our coalition. If you go to removetheregime.com, which is also linked from there, you can kind of see a little broader overview of our most recent events. But yeah, that's it. Look, I got to take the 20th off the top because it passed already, but that's it.
Yeah. But that was a great, I'm sorry that we couldn't get you on before, before your big moment in Washington, but I'm confident there will be more, and we'll be here for you. Congress, this is on you. Impeach, Convict, Remove is there on her splash page, removalcoalition.org. And Jessica's podcast, once again, is the Lights On podcast. We are a big supporter, and we continue to support. And please come visit again, Jessica Denson.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for always being an ally in this fight. I really appreciate it.
We'll talk soon. Jessica Denson. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe. this effort to